everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about my 5 favourite children's books. These are books probably aimed up to about the age of 7, 8ish. These are kind of your thin books rather than chapter books. These are the ones where I enjoy reading them as much as the kids like hearing them, and I'm not going to be all kind of, oh okay, I've got to read you a story. I'm going to be excited about these. So the first one I wanted to tell you about is a classic, Owl Babies. This is my sister's favourite book, and actually I have a feeling that she might have bought not this precise copy, but a copy of Owl Babies for the kids. It's one that they've always seemed drawn to, and in a way it seems weird because the illustrations are quite dark. They're not the classic brightly coloured kids book, I guess. Maybe that's why they like it. But it's got a certain poetry to it that makes it very, very beautiful, I think. Also, there are 3 baby owls. I have 3 children, so when we read it, we replace the owls' names with my children's names, and it's part of the game. They love it, and the bits where the youngest owl, Bill, says, I want my mummy. One of my kids loves to read that line, and if I read it by accident and forget what I'm supposed to be doing, then I get in trouble. But it's a really, really lovely book about 3 owls that are waiting for their mum to come home. The next book that I would like to tell you about is a Dr. Seuss. And this one is the Lorax. Now, I didn't get the Lorax until fairly recently. I bought it for my son maybe 18 months ago. And we knew the story. He had the films, the old version and the more recent Lorax films. Yeah, I knew the story, I'd heard the words to it, but I didn't actually have the book. And there's little sound bites in it that I think as an adult I can relate to. For instance, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. I really love that little quote from this. But the basic story is that you've got this little character, the Lorax, who is speaking for the trees, and there's a character called the Onceler who's cutting down all of the truculent trees to make thneeds out of them. So it's the idea of mass overproduction and the Lorax trying to stop that from happening. I love the environmental undertones of it. I think the kids like the funny little character, but I like that it's teaching them to care about the environment too, and I'm starting to see seeds of that as they talk about the story a little bit as they get older. But yeah, I like the messages behind it, I like the poetry of it, and I mean, who doesn't love a Dr. Seuss? Well, I guess there's people that don't, but I like them. The next book I'd like to tell you about is Horatio Happened. This one, I don't even know what it is about it that makes me, I don't know, it brings a tear to my eye. There's no real reason why. It's just a story about a kid puts a load of junk under his bed and this magical character, Horatio, appears. I mean, other than the fact it's kind of mythical, magical, there's no real reason why I should find that emotional, but I do. I think it's just the poetry of the words, and the rhythm of the words. The kids love it. I love it. It brings a tear to my eye for no apparent reason. And it does have really beautiful illustrations. I think, again, it's one where the illustrations are maybe a little bit more unusual than perhaps, I guess, mainstream kids' books. They're just very pretty and they're very magical. Yeah, no particular reason, but I like that one. The next book I'd like to tell you about is Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. Now, this book I picked up in a library, can't get the light to stop glaring on that, in a library sale, you know, when the library's selling off old books for like 10p, and I just thought it looked funny. That really is the only reason I bought it. I didn't know that it's as popular as it is. I think it's more popular in the States than it is here because none of the other mums I know really seem to have heard of it, or, you know, but I think it's very common in America, as far as I understand. We have, since buying this one, bought one of the others in the series. It's just very funny, and it's one of those where the kids will say the lines because they remember them then as they get older, and they can read, they can see that that's what it says. It's basically just about this little pigeon who wants to drive a bus, and you as the reader have got to stop him from driving the bus, and he does everything he can to persuade you to drive the bus. Yeah, just a humorous one. It's a bit of a favourite, to the point where my son wants to dress up as the Pigeon from Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus for World Book Day. How exactly am I going to make a pigeon costume? Well, I've Pinterested it, so I do have a couple of ideas, but these things that the kids ask me to do sometimes, well, make a costume of this, and sometimes it's straightforward, like Alice in Wonderland, that was easy for last World Book Day. A pigeon, good, I'm looking forward to that one. The last book that I would like to tell you about is The Snail and the Whale. This is a Julia Donaldson book, and her books are really well known. I mean, The Gruffalo, I'm sure everybody with a kid, probably many of those who don't have kids have heard of The Gruffalo. But this is my favourite by a long way. And yes, I know it's about the sea and I have a thing for the sea, but that's not all. There's just a beauty, I guess, in the poetry. So this is the thing, kids' books, I suppose could be maligned a little bit for just being just kids' books, but a lot of them are really, really beautiful, both from an artistic perspective and from a literary perspective in terms of the words. And I think that some kids' books are hard done by. Anyway, so this book, in fact, I went to Robin and Brian's Christmas Compendium, which is Brian Cox and Robin Ince. They do a big show at Christmas, and it's very multidisciplinary with scientists and comedians and all sorts of different things going on. It's brilliant. If you haven't been, you should go. And one year when I went, they read The Snail and the Whale. Which I think a lot of people in the audience, having not been familiar with it, and they didn't explain that it was a Julia Donaldson book or a children's book or anything, they just came on and read it. And I think a lot of people were a bit confused as to exactly what was going on, whilst I, as a parent, was going, oh my god, it's The Snail and the Whale, I love this book. This book essentially is about a snail that wants to go on a trip around the world, so he sails around with a whale's tail, and he ends up saving the whale. Sorry, spoilers, but yeah. But really, I love the message of the fact that the little guy, the snail, he has the power to be able to do something about it when something happens to the whale. I'm a big proponent of anybody trying to help if there's a situation that you think you can help with, even if you think that you're just a little guy, just a little snail. But I think that gives that message to kids, and I love it for that. I do think that it's important that a children's book is funny, because, you know, sometimes you do just want something that's frivolous, but I also love it when you get a book that has a message and is going to teach them something, but then you don't want to constantly be kind of, I guess, lecturing your kids on whatever you think is important in the world, because eventually they're going to see right through it and get maybe a little bit bored. But equally, it's lovely when a book just has, I suppose, a beauty about it, whether that's through the illustrations or through the words. But it is really lovely as a parent to be able to read things that you enjoy too, on whatever level that is. And interestingly, actually, none of these books are things that I even read as a child. Weird, but still, I've got to enjoy them as an adult. Thank you for watching the video, and I'd love to know what your favourite children's books are. Maybe they're the favourite ones that you love to read to your children, or maybe they're ones that you remember from your childhood. But please leave a comment below and tell me what those are. Please also like and subscribe for more videos about books, or anything else that I decide that I want to talk about at any given time. I'd love to see you all back here again soon. Bye!